So the standard data protection model is a model proposed by the German data protection authorities on the federal and the federal states levels. And it comprises a method to assess systems and processes for compliance with data protection law. It does not address the question that needs to be covered beforehand. That is the question regarding the legal ground. So every processing requires a legal ground, be it one of the ones specified in the law already, or a consent, an informed consent. But once you process data, it must adhere to certain requirements, and a series of those requirements is already well known in the field of IT security and computer security. And in that domain, a series of protection goals is well established, and that's the CIA triad, meaning confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So in the field of computer security, these are known, and that's a good reason to connect towards the system and to complement it with data protection requirements. So in the field of information security concepts, we have the well-known concept of confidentiality, meaning for data protection to protect data from access by third parties and also from any unauthorized access. So this has a certain overlap with what IT security also has. In other words, it addresses security questions of non-disclosure, security clearances, but also data minimization and users' measures as steganography, unobservability. So there's a series of measures, in particular from the encryption area, to implement this. Then we have the goal of integrity, which means that the data should not be changed or not be changed without being noticed, as it must not be modified in an unauthorized or undetected manner. And here we have a series of measures, including digital signatures, hash values, two-man rules, and other measures that implement this. And finally, availability means that not only the data, but also the processes and the systems required to process the data are available and usable at the point of time when one needs these. So it means that the services and processes are always granted in a comprehensible, processable, and timely manner. This may include measures such as backup, load balances, other avoidances of single points of failure, etc. So this well-known triad is now complemented with 3 more protection goals. These are intervenability, unlinkability, and transparency. With the data protection goal of unlinkability, we mean that privacy-relevant data cannot be linked across domains that are constituted by a common purpose or context. So the purpose-binding principle has here its cornerstone. Data that is linked to a certain purpose must not be stored or processed for another purpose, and this also needs to have a counterpart in the technology setting. So this is how the purpose-binding principle finds its way into technology. Measures to achieve these include data avoidance, reduction of data, access control management, when data is not needed in a certain granularity anymore. One could use generalization, anonymization, pseudonymization, abstraction, or doing statistics over the data and only continuing to work with the statistics. So those are the implementation techniques for unlinkability. Transparency would be the requirement as set forth in the General Data Protection Regulation, that each data subject knows about which personal data is processed for which purposes, by which entity. So it requires the transport of all relevant information, and it in a way that these can be understood and reconstructed also at any time. The transparency also refers to the processes itself, and the implementation techniques consider logging, user notifications, documentation, privacy policies, also status dashboards where data subjects can inform themselves about the current status of data processing, but also data breach notifications would be part of the transparency aspects. Think of it as a means to provide the necessary information. And finally, intervenability is a mean that provides data subjects with the possibility to get all the data subjects' rights to life. So it's defined as an intervention possibility concerning all ongoing or planned privacy relevant data processing. Besides the right of access, it also means providing user controls, the right to have a deletion or blocking of data. So this can be implemented, for example, by help desks, by also stop buttons. So think of, in the Internet of Things, about the possibility to just turn off a device for a certain while. This might also be very necessary in the field of ambient assisted living. Also manual overrides or manual deletion possibilities, but also the possibility to raise a complaint to someone, be it an internal data protection officer or be it the external oversight body, which is the Data Protection Authority. So think of it as a control mechanism and a control. So overall we have 6 data protection goals, 3 of which are ICT security oriented, 3 of them are primarily data protection oriented, and the whole system can be used and deployed to assess and evaluate systems, processes for processing of personal data. And this is also used as part of the data protection impact assessment methodology as proposed by ULD and other German data protection authorities. Within this system, then, for each of the different protection goals, one would assess the target of evaluation, so meaning the process or whatever it is at hand, whether it poses normal, high or very high risks to a certain protection goal, and then one has to apply the necessary mitigation methods to address these risks and see whether after all and afterwards the risks are in a level which is acceptable, and then raises the system to be a data protection in conformity with the data protection requirements.